Hello again, and it's time for another project. Today we're going to do some scroll saw work on this cartoon character. I believe they call him Rolf, and he's from a cartoon called Ed, Edd and Eddy. Personally myself, I've never watched it, but I was just flicking through the internet there, and this one just popped out at me and I thought it'll make a nice little scroll saw pattern, especially when all the colours have gone in afterwards. Now normally with your scroll saws patterns you would stick them down to painter's tape. Now everybody has their own options. You would line that wood with the painter's tape and then use a nice spray glue. Spray your glue and stick your template down and basically start cutting out all these sections. And because you've got your tape on, it will peel off the wood, no problem whatsoever. A method I like to use on most of my projects is carbon paper. Nice fresh piece of carbon paper, and I'll just pop that under the template, as you can see from that, and it takes 5 minutes just to draw around the full piece. That way you've got this paper template left to one side should you want to make another one, and ideally when you cut out your sections you can sit them on top of each one just to make sure it's somewhere near fitting in. So on my one for today, obviously I've gone for the carbon paper and I've drew around this first. That will be the backer board. That's the piece that all the bits are going to sit on, and that is in 5.5mm plywood. I think that's plenty thick enough when we've got the top section on. Now if you wanted to glue these two pieces together, I'll just show you the top section there. Look, the only reason I've done it in two halves, this was basically a piece of wood scrap left over at that side. So poor Rolf, we had to sever him across the hip joint there, turned it round and carbon papered it on like so, just so we're not wasting too much wood, and that's ideal for what we want. But like I said previously, if you want to cut out the backer first, you could glue that on there if you had the full size piece like that. Obviously imagine you've got 5.5mm underneath, your 3.6 stuck to top, on the top shall I say, and then you've glued that down and you will cut out around the full section, separate the two pieces, and that will give you your cutout board all ready to go. I'm going to cut that as a separate piece because I've modified it slightly. On some of these are quite large on the side for the backer section, so I've altered them down slightly. And this piece of shoe here was quite thin, and you might just see the pen line there if you can. I've also made that a little bit bigger than it should be, so you can mess about with it, no problem there. And even though it's obviously a ready-made pattern for you, you can make it yourself by changing things. And these inner cuts, the black ones there, one there, and then the eyes, the nose, the mouth, we will cut them out inside the piece itself. So we will need to drill some pilot holes. Alternatively, if I can say it, you could cut that out as it is and stick that on top. So you'll have one layer, 2 layers for the face, and then 3 layers when you've got your eyes, the nose and the mouth stuck on top. But I'm actually just going to cut them out on this one, so you've got plenty of options to go out, whichever suits you. So there's our template as it is, already drawn out. 3.6 for the top section. We'll literally just cut around all these. 5.5 for the bottom section, and we'll stick them onto that towards the end. Right, let's look at the blade we're going to use today. Right, people that have watched my previous projects know I prefer to use what they call a spiral blade. Now a spiral blade, the teeth spiral the full length of the blade, so they will cut in any direction. They're ideal for bigger projects, even bigger than this one, where you could basically start there with your blade and you could just cut that just by going around like that. You wouldn't actually have to turn the wood at all. Now the other two blades are a pin blade. These come on your more common saws, and they will literally hook at the top and bottom, and I don't see why you shouldn't be able to use it on this project. That might be a bit tight there on the nose section, but the rest of these make a bigger pilot hole and you will get your blade through. So they're not ideal. You need to move on to what they call pinless blades. And they're a nice blade there. Look, these are your more professional guys use these. I have tried my best, but I just find spirals for me. And obviously they've got no pins on, so they will fit into any pilot hole. And if you can just see there, look, we've drilled ours. So you will feed that through there, cut out that inner section, feed that through there, cut out that section there. So just a choice, and a personal choice it is. With my old draper saw in the corner, I have to use what these adapter clamps, and they will turn a pinless blade into a pin one. And where the pin would literally hang on, I'll just hook that at the top and at the bottom, and you are good to go. But if you are going to purchase a scroll saw, preferably get one that takes pinless blades to start with, because these can be a bit of a pain. And there's different ones out there. I believe Axminster make one. If you search draper adapter clamps, these will pop up. So there's different types and different ways to do things. This is the way I do it. Right, we're going to set this up. I think we're going to, let's start cutting the bits out first. We'll cut all these little pieces out first, and as we cut each one out, we'll just give it a little bit of sanding down, put them all to one side. Remember, we can always put them on top of our template, so we keep this to one side, and as we cut them out, we can literally just sit them on top of there, and then we'll know if we're near enough to what we want, should we want to do a little bit of sanding down and stuff like that. So we'll start on this one. Do your inner cuts first. You might be tempted to cut all the way around this first, just going to be a bit flimsy. So all your inner cuts, and then we can start removing these one at a time. Okay, let's start cutting this one out. Right, so we've fed the Pegas number 2 spiral blade. I've only used number 5, went down to 3s, and now on number 2. And we fed it through. Remember, all your blades, they want to feel smooth on the way down and rough on the way up. Should you have the blade in the wrong way around, it will still cut to a fashion, but you'll notice all the dust getting pulled up and the temptation of the wood getting pulled up off the table itself. So you'll soon know when your blade is the wrong way. So smooth on the way down, rough on the way up. You can see from that, I've got my adapter clamp just clipped onto the chrome hook thing at the top, and there's one underneath. We've got the tension, ping 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 sound. On this saw, it's right at the back. Some have them at the top now, it's simple twist. There's some fantastic machines out there, so take your time and definitely find one that suits you. Right, we're all ready to cut. Let's start cutting this one out. Right, there's all the top layers or sections done. You will notice with the spiral blades, you do get a lot of what we call those little fuzzes on the back, but they take a matter of seconds to remove, like so. And on this one, as each piece has been cut out, I like to mark the back. It just makes it easier when you know when you come to put it back together. So a little mark on the back, and then I like to turn it over and just remove the marks left by the carbon paper, as you can see there. And I like to generally just round off each edge. Now I've done that on all the rest of one, on the other one, should I say so. Basically now I'm just going to put it on top of this template just to show you the bits. Now the only pieces I've left for now, and I'm going to cut them out when we actually do the backer section, are the fingernails. They're a little bit small, so I tend to put that to one side and we'll come back when it's all a bit better. But you get the general idea. So there's our template there. And now it's just a simple case of getting the correct bits to fit, and we can cover this up as we go along, like so. And you'll see the little hands there. Look, we have those little fingernails to cut out first. Just simple case of cutting around there like that, but we can leave that to the end. No worries there whatsoever. In fact, if we move fast, I'm trying to work out where these pieces go. What does that look like? It looks like a trouser leg to me. So that will go there. And there's some smaller sections and so on. I'll fill in this quickly. When I come back, we'll show you what it looks like. Right, there's our last piece. Little jacket there. Like I say, I just like to mark the back, just so I know it's on the right way. And that will be the last piece to go in there, like so. So far so good. It's all looking in place. Remember, there's different ways of doing this. I've literally cut out all around the eyes, but once those eyes are painted white against the black backer, they should look fine. But if you wanted to, you could have cut out the black as a separate piece, stuck it on, then stuck the eyes on top, basically giving you 3 levels. And the same with the mouth, if you wanted the mouth to stick out, and the nose, and then sections there, and so on. But we'll cut it out as it is. So that's all nicely done. If I can just turn around in this little shed of mine and find the backer section. Remember, we've marked that out on the 5.5. So we've got to cut that out next, and hopefully all these pieces will stick on top once painted. Right, so we've cut all the way around the backer section. When I do these cuts, I like to make just one little pilot hole so you can cut it out as one piece. You might be tempted to just come in here and start cutting it out, but as you're cutting around the full section itself, these two pieces start flapping about a bit and they can catch on your saw table as you're turning. So for me personally, little pilot hole, go in that distance and you'll get all the way around and your wood will stay as one nice piece. Less chance of it trapping. So there he is. That's a backer section all done. Remember, same again, the little fuzzies on the back there, but a bit of sandpaper, they'll be gone in a matter of seconds. So there's our back section. What I did also do, if you remember those fingernails, I managed to cut those out. They're a little bit delicate. In hindsight, it would have been better maybe just to draw the nails on. We could have marked the nails on and just painted them in, but we've done it, and they're the little hands there, as you can see. And on one of these, obviously that will go on there eventually. This one here, notice is missing a finger. That has not been cut off. I wish I'd probably added that extra one on, but that actually goes behind the body. So there's only 3 fingers on that hand. There's only 4 on the other one, but anyway. So that will actually go behind the body when that goes on there. So we haven't actually cut it off. That's just the way the pattern is. So everything's all nicely cut out now. We're all good to go. We've got all our bits here. I'll give this a quick sanding over. Then I'll place all the bits on top. Give you a general idea what we're looking for. And then we'll look at the paints we're going to use today. Right, there's all our bits put on, minus the one little hand there. So you get the general idea of what we're going for there. I'll leave the nails attached to that tape. That will make it easier when you come to paint. We can paint all around these. Once the paint's dry, literally pick those off. And I also do that the same with all these smaller sections. Stick them down to your blue tape, paint them all, pull it off. Just saves a lot of fiddling about. Now for painting wise, we're going to use, I've just gone and purchased this, I've not even opened it up, jet black paint, brush on, quick drying. That will be for the backer section, which we've nicely sanded down, and that's all ready to go. There is sprays out there, spray would be a lot quicker, I just prefer to paint. And remember to all your side walls, don't just paint the top section, you want to paint all down the side bits as well. Just makes the project look more finished. And the same when we come to paint these little sections here. Make sure you paint all your side bits. It just makes that project look more finished. So we're ready to paint. Now top sections, I like to use painters touch paints. I just haven't got the colours to go. So we're going to use just acrylic paint. This is an indoor piece, so we'll have no problem with that. You will have to go over it a couple of times, but like I say, you've got it all fastened to your board. You can literally hold that and just paint it like that. Let it dry. Dries in a matter of minutes and go over it again. It's worth that extra effort. Right, we'll go indoors, sort our paints out and start painting this one up. Right, so we've painted all the top sections, still attached to our bits of tape there, look, and we painted the bottom section there. We've done all these side walls, and I've obviously done the back as well. Now, the paint, this Paint Factory Colour It, what a waste of time that was. The smell is horrendous. 2 days later, I can still smell it on that wood there. And it's my own fault. This is oil based, so it is what I would call like proper paint. So you need thinners or spirits to clean the brushes with. No good to me whatsoever. That'll be okay if you're doing railings outside, but it only cost me $2.99 here in the UK, so a couple of dollars. So we've not wasted anything, but I will not be using that again on any of my projects. That's only fit for painting the railings outside. So I was lucky that we came in with the black gloss spray in the end. I think I will be using spray a little bit more in my future programs. It's certainly a lot easier, but I have ordered the good old Paint Factory Black. So we actually sprayed it in the end. It was certainly a lot quicker. But it's a lesson learnt. Read the label on the back. Make sure you pick your right paint. So that's all nicely done. We even got those little fingernails over there, look, waiting to be put on. So now I'm going to spray it all first. Now you might think, glue it all down and then just spray it that way. And you can do it that way for sure. I just prefer to spray all these things as they are now. That way, with the pieces all put together, your gap is so small in between. I wonder if you get any varnish in there, any spray. And you don't have to varnish it. These pieces are fine as they are. They do have a nice, unfortunately, a matte finish to them. A dull finish. So I do like a bit of spray. And obviously when that goes against the background, should I say, it will look fine. So the spray today, nice new one, just gloss varnish. I normally have 515, and I'll probably come back with a couple of those when I go down to find some more paint. So for now, we're just going to spray these. It's a lovely sunny day today, so we'll go outside and do it all outside. But for now, quick sprays over. We don't need a lot, but you will see the difference once that's gone on, and we're even going to spray that as well. So we'll take it outside, get a nice shiny finish. You know I like it on my projects. And then when we come back, just be a simple case of gluing it all together. Right, so we've sprayed 2 or 3 layers of that spray varnish. Just enough for me personally to give it that bit of a shine there, as you can see. And the same on all the pieces. For me personally, it just finishes the project off. If you don't prefer not to spray, that's your choice. Now we're just going to glue it all down onto the backer section. Now for me personally, for now I'm using a 151 glue there. And I will just dab all the way around best we can. And I also like to incorporate a bit of wood glue. It doesn't need this, I'm sure it doesn't need this. Some of these pieces I will glue down just with that super glue, but for me I just like to put a couple of dabs on with this on the bigger areas, and then when you come to put it in position, it just allows you to move it around a little bit until you get it where you want it, and then press it down. With your super glues, once it makes contact, it is more or less stuck, so we're going to have to be a bit careful with that. Right, I'll go back indoors now, glue all this down. We'll probably leave the last section just to show you, and then we'll be heading towards the finishing line. Right, so we've glued most of it down. We just left one little piece just to show you, just little dabs like that, nothing fantastic. Personally, you might not need that wood glue on. Your super glue's more than plenty to hold it in place. And that's plenty on there. So it's just a case of flicking it over. I did actually stick my fingers down at one time. I've had a bit of a fun and game with this one. So we pop it in, and because we've got that wood glue on, it just gives you a bit of time just to twist it with somewhere near like so. Press it down. You might find with the wood glue, a bit of white will come out the side. I tend to wipe that off with a cocktail stick, or it does actually dry transparent, so it is clear when it's done. Right, let's go back down to the shed and see what this one's like. Right, that's it. This little project is finished. So we glued it all down with that 151 glue. Those little fingernails, they were a little bit delicate to stick in. And I say, one time I did actually glue my thumbs together and a finger, so we managed to separate those. It's all sent to testers, I'm sure. So that's it, we are done. So this is Rolf. He measured in at 17 inches by 10 inches across. It's from the cartoon Ed, Edd and Eddy. Personally myself, I've not seen it. I don't know if it's an American thing or what, but I've mentioned it to a few folk and nobody's heard of Rolf. But anyway, it's a nice little project to cut out. And we cut out the top section on 3.6mm plywood and the bottom section on 5.5mm plywood. We use a Pegas number 2 spiral blade. That's just my choice of blade. I should imagine, looking at that, you might just got away with any blade, to be honest. There was some smaller areas you might just struggle to get a pin blade in there, but I'm sure you could make it work. So spiral blades for me. Once we cut it all out, we did try that black paint, if you remember, but I ended up using 151 spray paint. I'll certainly look into the spray side of things for future projects. And for the top section, just cheap acrylic paints. The only thing with acrylic paints, you've got to go over each piece at least twice, if not 3 times. Should you have primer underneath? I have no idea. Something I've never used, but it covers well and it does the job. So each to their own. Once it's all cut out, painted, we have to stick it down with the 151 super glue. And obviously I like to incorporate a bit of wood glue in between. That's just the way I do things. It might be a waste of time. And like I say, on these little fingernails, we just went straight in with the super glue. I think one of these just had super glue on, and it just does the job fine. But I'm more happy just to put the 2 little types of glue on, just to give you something to play with. And obviously we sprayed all the pieces. Now I sprayed them all together when they're still stuck to that bit of tape. There again, that's just the way I like to do things. And then when it was all done, I've just gone over again with the final bit of spray just to finish it off. And that's it. For hanging purposes, we'll put some kind of hook on the back there. Just be careful with your screws that you don't go through. That's enough now with 5.5 and 3.6, so you got a good 9mm for your screw. And that's it. Rolf is complete. Nice fun little project, this one. The good thing about this project, and if you're using spiral blades, it doesn't have to be too near. The shape wise and the way it's made, you can cut out pretty easy. It doesn't have to be too perfect, even down to these little fingernails here. And that's it. He is done. Thank you very much for watching.